Welcome, dear friends. As we gather together today, I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude for your presence. Your willingness to engage in this journey of faith and exploration is a gift that enriches us all. In the spirit of encouragement and the profound truths of our faith, let us open our hearts and minds to the wonders that lie ahead. May this day be filled with peace and happiness for each of you. Remember, every moment is an opportunity to encounter the divine, to reflect on the beauty around us, and to share that joy with others. So, as we embark on this exploration together, I wish you a day brimming with tranquility and joy. Let us dive into our discussion with enthusiasm and an open spirit. We begin not with a tidy narrative, but with a primal scream, a cosmic birth pang. The universe in its infancy wasn't a placid lake, but a tempestuous ocean, a swirling vortex of energy and potential. Imagine a canvas splattered with raw pigments, vibrant yet chaotic, yearning for form. Genesis, that ancient poem of creation, doesn't shy away from this truth. The earth was without form and void, it declares, tuhu wabohu, a Hebrew phrase that resonates with emptiness, confusion, and a lack of purpose. It echoes the disorientation we feel when life throws us a curveball, when the carefully constructed edifice of our world crumbles. This isn't a God of order imposing himself on a pre-existing, well-behaved cosmos. This is the raw material, the very stuff of existence, before the divine artistry takes hold. This is the sound of potential, the murmur of the uncreated. The ancient Near Eastern myths often depicted chaos as a malevolent force, a dragon or sea monster, Tiamat, Apophis, threatening to engulf the world, a constant adversary to the gods of order. These myths painted a picture of divine struggle, an ongoing cosmic battle against the forces of disintegration. But the God of Israel, the God revealed through Abraham, Moses, and ultimately Jesus, is radically different. He is not opposed to chaos in the same way. Rather, he encompasses it, holds it within his grasp. Think of a potter with a lump of clay. The clay itself is formless, potentially chaotic, but the potter doesn't reject it. He embraces it, knowing within it lies the potential for a masterpiece. This is a crucial point. God doesn't eliminate chaos. He transforms it. He doesn't stand outside of it, battling it from a safe distance. He dives into the heart of it, bringing light where there is darkness, order where there is confusion. This is the seed of the entire biblical narrative. Out of brokenness, out of darkness, God brings forth life and beauty, a symphony from the dissonance. Think about the chaos in your own life, the moments of confusion, the relationships that shatter, the dreams that crumble into dust, the diagnosis that changes everything, the betrayal that leaves you reeling, the grief that seems to swallow you whole. Do you feel abandoned, lost in the void, adrift in a sea of uncertainty? Do you feel like tohu wabohu has become your personal mantra? The opening of Genesis offers a profound consolation. Even in the midst of the deepest darkness, even when you feel utterly lost and alone, the Spirit of God is hovering, present, ready to breathe life into your chaos. Like a mother hovering over her newborn child, God is present in your pain, in your confusion, in your fear. He is not distant and aloof, but intimately involved in the messy, beautiful, terrifying reality of your life. The creation story isn't just a historical account. It's a paradigm, a pattern that repeats itself throughout Scripture and throughout our lives. The Exodus, for example, is a story of chaos and liberation. The Israelites were enslaved, oppressed, living in a state of tuhuwabohu. But God, through Moses, led them out of that chaos, through the Red Sea, a symbol of the primordial waters, into the Promised Land. This wasn't just a physical liberation, it was a spiritual one. It was a journey from slavery to freedom, from despair to hope, from chaos to order. The concept of creatio ex nihilo, creation out of nothing, is central to the Christian understanding of God. It emphasizes God's absolute power and freedom. He doesn't need pre-existing materials to create. He speaks, and it is done. But this nothing isn't just the absence of matter. It also encompasses the absence of meaning, the absence of hope, the absence of love. God creates not just the physical universe, but also the very possibility of meaning, the very capacity for love. He fills the void with His presence, His Word, His Spirit. Think of the moments in your life when you felt like nothing, the times of profound loss, the moments of utter despair, the periods of deep spiritual emptiness. It's in those moments, when we feel most vulnerable, most exposed, that we are often most open to God's grace. It's in the darkness that we begin to see the light. It's in the chaos that we discover the seeds of new creation. The cross of Jesus is the ultimate expression of this divine pattern. Jesus, the Son of God, entered into the ultimate chaos, the chaos of sin, suffering, and death. He embraced the tohu wabohu of human existence, taking it upon Himself. He descended into hell, into the very heart of darkness, and it was there, in the depths of despair, that He triumphed. His resurrection is the ultimate act of creation, the ultimate victory over chaos. It's a testament to the power of God to bring life out of death, hope out of despair, order out of chaos. The resurrection isn't just a historical event. It's a symbol of hope for all of us. It tells us that even in the face of death, even in the midst of the greatest chaos, God's love will ultimately prevail. It tells us that we are not defined by our brokenness, by our failures, by our past. We are defined by God's love, by His grace, by His promise of new life. Do you feel trapped by your past, haunted by your failures, imprisoned by your pain? The resurrection of Jesus offers you a new beginning. It tells you that you can be forgiven, that you can be healed, that you can be transformed. It tells you that even in the midst of your chaos, God is working to bring forth something beautiful, something new, something extraordinary. The God who brought order out of chaos at the dawn of creation is the same God who is working in your life today. He is the God who takes the broken pieces of our lives and weaves them into a tapestry of grace. He is the God who whispers hope in the midst of despair, who brings light into the darkness, who transforms chaos into beauty. He is the God who is always present, always loving, always creating. The Christian life is not about avoiding chaos. It's about facing it with courage and faith, knowing that God is with us, even in the midst of the storm. It's about trusting that He will bring good out of evil, life out of death, beauty out of ashes. It's about surrendering our chaos to Him, allowing Him to work His transformative power in our lives. What chaos are you facing today? What brokenness are you struggling with? Bring it to God. Surrender it to Him. Trust that He is present, that He is loving, that He is working to bring forth something beautiful from the ruins of your life. Trust that He is the God who brings order out of chaos, the God who brings light out of darkness, the God who brings life out of death. Trust in the cosmic dawn that is always breaking forth. And then, the Word. A whisper, a sigh, a shout of joy. We don't know the precise timbre of that divine utterance, but we know its impact was cataclysmic. Let there be light, not a mere command, barked from on high, but an act of divine self-expression. Imagine an artist, not just thinking a masterpiece, but breathing it into existence, imbuing it with their very essence. The Logos, the very mind of God, begins to articulate itself in the fabric of the universe. Light is not just a physical phenomenon, a mere electromagnetic wave. It's a symbol of divine presence, of knowledge, of order emerging from chaos. This isn't a violent imposition, a cosmic dictator forcing his will upon a reluctant universe. It's a gentle persuasion, a divine invitation for the universe to participate in its own unfolding, to dance to the rhythm of creation. The Let There Be Light moment is not just about the creation of physical light, the photons that illuminate our world. It's about the dawn of consciousness, the beginning of meaning. Before light, there was only potential, only the unformed. With light comes differentiation, distinction, the possibility of relationship. The early church fathers, those brilliant theologians who wrestled with the mysteries of faith, saw this light as a prefiguration of Christ, the true light that illuminates every person, as John's Gospel so eloquently proclaims, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Creation is not a one-time event, a distant historical occurrence. It's an ongoing process, a continuous act of divine speaking, of bringing order out of disorder, of whispering light into the darkness. Think about the moments in your life when you experienced a breakthrough, a moment of clarity after a period of confusion, a sudden dawn after a long night, that aha moment, that flash of insight, that sudden understanding. That's a glimpse of the divine light breaking through your personal darkness. It might be a solution to a problem that's been plaguing you, a new understanding of a relationship, a sense of direction after feeling lost. God is constantly speaking to us, revealing Himself to us, even in the midst of our struggles, even when we feel like we're stumbling in the dark. He's not a silent God, but a God who communicates, who invites us into dialogue, who shines a light on our path. And God saw that the light was good, not just adequate, not just functional, but good. This is not a utilitarian universe, assembled with cold efficiency. This is a universe infused with beauty, with purpose, with inherent value. God's creative act is not just about bringing order, it's about bringing forth beauty. It's an act of love, a pouring forth of divine creativity into the very fabric of existence. The concept of goodness in the creation narrative is crucial. It's not just an aesthetic judgment, it's a theological one. It speaks to the inherent value of creation, its intrinsic worth in the eyes of God. This understanding has profound implications for how we treat the earth, how we interact with each other, how we live our lives. If creation is good, then we are called to be stewards of that goodness, to protect it, to nurture it, to celebrate it. If humanity is created in God's image, then every human life has inherent dignity and worth, regardless of race, gender, or social status. Look around you. Look at the intricate patterns of a snowflake, the vibrant colors of a sunset, the majestic sweep of a mountain range. Do you see the beauty? Do you feel the awe? This beauty is not accidental. It's a reflection of the divine artist, a whisper of God's love echoing through creation. Take time to appreciate it. Allow yourself to be moved by it. Let it awaken your sense of wonder and gratitude. And God separated the light from the darkness. Not a rejection of darkness, but a definition of it. Darkness is not an equal and opposite force to light. It's the absence of light. Just as cold is the absence of heat, and silence is the absence of sound. This act of separation is not a division, but a clarification, a setting of boundaries, a bringing of clarity. The separation of light and darkness symbolizes the ongoing process of discernment in our lives. We are constantly called to discern between truth and falsehood, between good and evil, between what is life-giving and what is destructive. This is not always easy. The lines can be blurred, the choices can be difficult, but the light of God's Word, the light of Christ, can guide us, can illuminate our path, can help us to see clearly. We all experience darkness in our lives, moments of doubt, times of suffering, periods of despair, but even in the deepest darkness, the light of God's love can penetrate. Even when we feel lost and alone, God is present, whispering words of hope, offering a hand of comfort. Don't be afraid of the darkness. It's in the darkness that we often discover the true strength of our faith. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Not a single isolated event, but the beginning of a rhythm, a cycle, a pattern that repeats itself throughout time. Creation is not static. It's dynamic, constantly unfolding, constantly renewing itself. The universe is not a machine. It's an organism, alive, breathing, evolving. The rhythm of evening and morning reminds us of the cyclical nature of life, the seasons, the tides, the ebb and flow of human experience. There are times of light and times of darkness, times of joy and times of sorrow, times of growth and times of rest. This cyclical pattern is not a sign of futility, it's a sign of hope. It reminds us that even after the darkest night, the dawn will always break. Embrace the rhythm of your life. Don't be afraid of the changes, the transitions, the ups and downs. Trust that even in the midst of the chaos, even in the darkness, God is working to bring forth something beautiful, something new, something extraordinary. Trust in the cosmic dawn that is always breaking forth, the light that always returns, the hope that never fades, and then the Sabbath. A hush falls over the cosmos, not a cessation of activity, not a divine collapse from exhaustion, but a celebration of completion. Imagine a conductor having led the orchestra through a magnificent symphony, pausing, not from weariness, but to savor the final chord, the harmonious resonance that fills the concert hall. God rests, not because he is tired, but because his creation is good. Very good. This is a crucial theological point, a point often missed in our frantic, productivity-driven world. Creation is not just about functionality, about ticking boxes and achieving targets. It's about beauty, about joy, about the sheer delight of existence. It's about the exuberant dance of particles, the intricate tapestry of life, the breathtaking panorama of the universe. The Sabbath is an invitation for us to enter into that divine joy, to appreciate the gift of creation, and to recognize our place within it, not as mere cogs in a machine, but as beloved participants in this cosmic ballet. The Sabbath is a reminder that we are not just cogs in a machine, driven by relentless schedules and endless to-do lists. We are part of a cosmic symphony, a grand dance of creation. It's a call to remember our dignity as image-bearers of God, as co-creators with Him in the ongoing work of bringing order and beauty to the world. This is where our vocations come into play, not just our jobs, the tasks we perform to earn a living, but the unique way in which each of us, through our talents, our passions, our very being, contributes to the flourishing of creation. Whether we are artists, teachers, parents, scientists, or simply those who offer a kind word or a helping hand, we are all called to participate in God's creative work, to bring a touch of beauty, a spark of joy, a whisper of hope into the world. In our busy, often chaotic lives, we often forget the importance of rest, of taking time to appreciate the beauty that surrounds us, the beauty that resides within us. We become so caught up in the doing that we forget the being. The Sabbath reminds us that we are more than just our work, more than just our accomplishments. We are beloved children of God, invited to participate in the joy of creation simply by being present, simply by being ourselves. Take a moment right now to appreciate the gift of this moment, the gift of your own existence. Breathe deeply. Feel the gentle rhythm of your heart. Recognize the miracle of your own being. The Sabbath is not just a personal retreat, it's a communal celebration. It's a time to gather with loved ones, to share stories, to break bread, to rejoice in the gift of community. It's a reminder that we are not alone on this journey. We are part of something larger than ourselves. We are connected to each other, bound together by the threads of love and shared experience. The communal aspect of the Sabbath highlights the social dimension of our faith. We are created for relationship, for connection, for belonging. The Sabbath is a time to strengthen those bonds, to nurture our relationships, to celebrate the gift of community. It's a reminder that we are called to love one another, to support one another, to journey together in faith. Think about the people in your life who have made a difference, who have touched your heart, who have inspired you to be a better person. These are the people who embody the spirit of the Sabbath. who understand that true rest comes from serving others, from giving back to the community, from making the world a more beautiful and just place. The Sabbath is not just a day, it's a way of life. It's a way of seeing the world, a way of living in harmony with creation, a way of recognizing the presence of God in every moment. It's about finding balance in our lives, about honoring the rhythms of work and rest, activity and contemplation, giving and receiving. The Sabbath principle extends beyond a single day of the week. It's a reminder that we need to incorporate rhythms of rest and renewal into all aspects of our lives. We need to learn to listen to our bodies, to our minds, to our souls. We need to recognize our limitations, to acknowledge our need for grace, to trust in God's provision. How do you practice Sabbath in your life? How do you find rest and renewal? What activities bring you joy and connect you to God? Take some time to reflect on these questions, experiment with different practices, find what works for you, and remember, the Sabbath is not a burden, it's a gift. It's an invitation to enter into the joy of creation, to experience the peace that comes from surrendering to God's love. From the chaos of the primordial soup to the symphony of creation, from the darkness of the void to the light of dawn, from the toil of our labors to the joy of the Sabbath rest, the story of creation is a story of God's love, a story of hope, a story of ongoing renewal. It's a story that's being written every day, in every moment, in every human life. And you, dear viewer, are a part of that story. You are a beloved child of God, created in His image, invited to participate in the grand dance of creation. Embrace the chaos, welcome the light, celebrate the Sabbath, and trust in the God who brings order out of chaos, the God who whispers beauty into the void, the God who makes all things new. And then the human story. The narrative takes a sharp turn, a poignant twist. Created in God's image, Imago Dei, endowed with freedom, that awesome, terrifying gift, we are given the sublime responsibility of caring for creation, of being stewards of this beautiful, fragile planet. We are not mere observers in this cosmic drama. We are active participants, entrusted with the task of cultivating and guarding the Garden of Eden, the garden of our lives. But with freedom comes the possibility of choice, and with choice, inevitably comes the possibility of error, the potential for misuse, the temptation to turn away from the light. The story of the fall, that ancient haunting tale, is not just a historical event, a distant occurrence. It's a symbolic representation of the human condition, the perpetual struggle between our innate desire for God, our yearning for connection with the divine, and our persistent tendency to go our own way, to assert our own will, to choose the fleeting allure of self-sufficiency over the enduring embrace of divine love. The fall is not just about disobedience, about breaking a set of rules. It's about a fundamental distortion of our relationship with God, with each other, and with creation itself. It's a fracturing of the harmony that existed at the beginning, a sundering of the connection that bound us to the source of life. Sin, that insidious force, is not just breaking rules. It's a turning away from the source of life, of isolation over communion. It's a rejection of our true identity as children of God, a grasping for a false autonomy that ultimately leads to emptiness and despair. But even in our fallenness, even in the midst of our brokenness, the Imago Dei remains within us. However distorted it may be, however deeply buried beneath layers of sin and self-deception, this enduring image, this spark of the divine, is the basis for our hope, the possibility of redemption, the promise of restoration. We all make mistakes, we all stumble and fall, we all experience moments of weakness, moments when we choose darkness over light, when we succumb to temptation, when we hurt ourselves and others. The story of the fall reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. It's a universal human experience, a shared narrative of imperfection and longing. But it also reminds us that God's love is greater than our failings, that His grace is more powerful than our sin. He doesn't abandon us in our brokenness. He seeks us out, like the father in the parable of the prodigal son, running to meet us, offering us the possibility of healing and restoration, of forgiveness and new beginnings. The story of Cain and Abel, that tragic tale of sibling rivalry, illustrates the devastating consequences of sin, the way it can fester and grow, leading to violence and division. It reminds us that sin is not just an individual problem, it has social and communal implications, tearing apart families, communities, and even nations. Cain's act of violence is not just a crime, it's a symptom of a deeper spiritual malaise, a manifestation of the envy and anger that can consume the human heart. It highlights the destructive power of sin, its ability to corrupt our relationships and distort our understanding of ourselves and others. It underscores the importance of forgiveness, of reconciliation, of finding ways to heal the wounds that sin inflicts. Think about the conflicts in your own life, the broken relationships, the unresolved disputes, the lingering resentments. Are you holding on to anger? Are you harboring bitterness? The story of Cain and Abel reminds us that these negative emotions can poison our hearts and lead to destructive actions. It's a call to let go of resentment, to seek forgiveness, to strive for reconciliation, to build bridges instead of walls. The story of Job, that epic poem of suffering and faith, explores the mystery of pain and the challenges it poses to our belief in a loving God. It reminds us that suffering is a part of the human experience, a reality that we cannot escape. But it also reminds us that God is present with us in our suffering, even when we don't understand why we are going through difficult times. Job's story is not an explanation of suffering, it's a meditation on it. It doesn't offer easy answers or simplistic solutions. Instead, it invites us to wrestle with the hard questions, to acknowledge the mystery of God's ways, to trust in His love, even when we are surrounded by darkness. It reminds us that faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting in the one who does. Have you experienced suffering in your life? Have you faced challenges that seemed insurmountable? Have you questioned God's love in the midst of your pain? You are not alone. Many people have struggled with these same questions throughout history. The story of Job reminds us that it's okay to doubt. It's okay to question. It's okay to express our pain to God. He can handle our honesty, and He promises to be with us even in the darkest valleys of our lives. From the moment of our creation to the moment of our death, the human story is a story of struggle and grace, of freedom and fallenness, of hope and despair. It's a story that's being written every day in every human life. And you, dear viewer, are a part of that story. You are a beloved child of God, created in His image, endowed with freedom, called to love and serve. Embrace your humanity, acknowledge your brokenness, and trust in the God who offers you forgiveness, healing, and the promise of eternal life. But the story, thank God, doesn't end with the fall, with the brokenness, with the despair. God's love, that relentless, persistent, utterly extravagant love, is not thwarted by our failings. It pursues us, it seeks us out, it whispers promises of hope, even in the darkest valleys of our lives. And in Jesus Christ, we see the ultimate act of divine order emerging from the chaos of human sin, the definitive triumph of light over darkness. The cross, that symbol of suffering and brokenness, that instrument of torture and death, becomes, paradoxically, the instrument of our redemption, the gateway to new life. Through Christ's death and resurrection, that pivotal event in human history, we are offered a new creation, a chance to be reconciled with God, with each other, and with the whole of creation, to participate in the restoration of all things. The resurrection is the ultimate victory over chaos, the definitive triumph of light over darkness, the resounding affirmation of life over death. It's not just about the resurrection of Jesus, as extraordinary and transformative as that event is. It's about the promise of our own resurrection, the promise of a new heaven and a new earth, a renewed creation where there will be no more suffering, no more pain, no more chaos, no more tears. This is the hope that sustains us, the vision that inspires us to work for justice, to heal the brokenness of the world, to be agents of reconciliation and peace, to participate in the ongoing work of redemption. Do you feel trapped by your past, weighed down by your mistakes, imprisoned by your regrets? The resurrection of Jesus offers you a new beginning, a chance to start over, a possibility of redemption. It tells you that you are not defined by your failures, that your past does not have the final word. God's grace is more powerful than any sin. His love is stronger than any regret. He offers you forgiveness, healing, and the promise of new life. All you have to do is accept it. The resurrection is not just a future hope. It's a present reality. It's a power that's at work in the world now, transforming lives, healing broken hearts, bringing hope to the hopeless. It's a power that you can experience in your own life if you open your heart to it. The resurrection is not just a historical event. It's a spiritual reality. It's the source of our hope, the foundation of our faith, the power that enables us to live lives of love, joy, and peace. It's the assurance that even in the face of death, God's love will ultimately prevail. How do you experience the resurrection in your life? How do you connect with the power of God's grace? What practices nurture your faith and bring you closer to Him? Take some time to reflect on these questions. Explore different spiritual disciplines. Find what works for you. And remember, the resurrection is not just something you believe, it's something you experience. The resurrection is not just about individual salvation. It's about the renewal of all creation. It's about the restoration of the harmony that existed at the beginning, the healing of the rift between humanity and nature, the reconciliation of all things to God. The concept of a new heaven and a new earth is central to Christian eschatology. It's not just about escaping this world, it's about the transformation of this world, the redemption of all creation. It's a vision of a world where there will be no more suffering, no more pain, no more injustice, no more death. It's a vision of a world where God's love will reign supreme. What kind of world do you want to live in? What kind of future do you hope for? The vision of a new heaven and a new earth inspires us to work for a better world now, to be agents of change, to promote justice, to protect the environment, to build communities of love and peace. It reminds us that we are not just passive recipients of God's grace, we are active participants in the work of redemption. From the chaos of the primordial soup to the symphony of creation, from the darkness of the void to the light of dawn, from the toil of our labors to the joy of the Sabbath rest, from the brokenness of the fall to the hope of the resurrection, the story of creation is a story of God's love, a story of hope, a story of ongoing renewal. It's a story that's being written every day, in every moment, in every human life. And you, dear viewer, are a part of that story. You are a beloved child of God, created in His image, endowed with freedom, called to love and serve, invited to participate in the cosmic redemption, the renewal of all things. Embrace the chaos, welcome the light, celebrate the Sabbath, and trust in the God who makes all things new. Thank you for watching and walking this path with us. If this exploration of creation, science, and faith and trust have touched you, we welcome you to join the Hope in God community. Please subscribe for more journeys into faith. Share your own experiences, and let's continue together, finding light in darkness, order in chaos, and hope in every step of our shared pilgrimage.